Perfect. Well, we are officially live. I'd like to thank the people that are tuning in right now. Looks like we have about 60
Mike.
viewers right now. We want to thank you guys. And if you're new to this thing or you just kind of stumbled upon it, this Let's Play is something that us Pixelogic, the makers of Zbrush, are trying to put on because we're trying to sort of bridge the gap between gamers and game artists and teams of artists that make the amazing games that we play. Today, we're sitting with the character artists from id Software, the makers of Doom, which is an amazing game. We've got Brian Wynia, Jason Martin, Denzel O'Neill, and I'm going to try and get this right, Emmanuel Palalik. Yeah? Welcome, guys. Say hey to the viewers that we got tuned in right now.
Hey guys, how are you?
What up?
Good to be here.
It's good to be here. So today, the game plan for today's Let's Play is, of course, we're going to go through and we're going to play the game. We want to ask these guys some questions, get to know more about them, and specifically talk about just the art process that goes into it, and of course, talk about Zbrush, our favorite digital sculpting software, right?
Of course.
I was hoping for like a roaring, like, yeah.
Don't worry, guys.
But it's fine. It's fine. We'll build up. We're building up to that moment. But so I guess one thing I do want to talk about, and it's no news to gamers, but the history of id Software, your guys' company, is pretty amazing as far as the first-person shooter goes, and really just progressing game development as a whole. You guys are a part of a really amazing company that's obviously brought us the original Doom. There's been multiple iterations from it. And in recent days, you guys have put out a game called Rage, which I particularly loved that game. I thought it was a super cool game, awesome character art, kind of a fresh new take. It was sort of like a mix between Fallout and Mad Max. I kind of felt like that. But that was sort of like the stepping stone into this version of Doom, which was released, I believe, was it in March this year?
Oh no,
May. One of the M's.
13th? May 13th.
May Friday the 13th.
Yeah. So, Jason and Brian, you guys are all amazing ZBrush artists, and you're really, some of the elite sculptors in this industry. And Jason and Brian, you guys have done a ton for us at Pixelogic as far as presenting. You guys have been, Jason, you were at the summit last year, and you guys have just done a ton of UGMs, and you're avid, users in the community, which we really appreciate, and we're looking forward to getting to know Denzel and Emmanuel as well. And then also, I just want to make note before we get started with all this that these Let's Plays right now are sort of a precursor to, or a prelude to, our event, the ZBrush Summit, which is our third annual event that we host here in Los Angeles. Which, I mean, Jason, you were here last year. It's an amazing event where we basically just bring in teams of artists from all different studios, video games, film, all different industries where 3D and ZBrush is used. And you guys give presentations. They're all-day events, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's going to be happening September 30th through October 2nd. And there's also workshops, so you can learn from the pros. They're fairly expensive, but the price is definitely worth it as far as the knowledge that you gain. So for those people tuning in before we get started, make sure you check out all that stuff at ZBrush, I always start with that. It's summit.pixelogic.com. I say ZBrush so much, and I'm just shamelessly wearing ZBrush everything as well. And I have a ZBrush mug.
No shame.
Swag.
No shame. ZBrush. We just walk into work,
I went too, man.
ZBrush. But
I have
anyways.
my grandfather wearing ZBrush hats, so I can't say too much. He's like, you guys always these wonderful hats for presenting and stuff like that.
Right.
And I only have so many heads.
You just automatically go to your grandfather.
My grandfather's hair, he needs
So, and also, I want to introduce our team. We're just a small part of the Pixelogic team. My name is Solomon. To my right, we have Michael Nisbet, who is going to be our resident gamer. And I'm super jealous of Mike because I got a taste of this game, and I was just blown away. Like,
Stayed up all night
yeah.
on this.
I'll be honest. I was late to the game. We work really hard here at Pixelogic, and we kind of wear a lot of hats, so we're working a ton of hours, and I don't get as much time to play games. So when we were gonna do this, I was like, I gotta play Doom, and we like made a benchmark to beat the game last night. I got through 7 missions in like 4 hours, but
Smashed through a lot of
yeah,
it. Yeah.
I mean,
That's pretty impressive.
What'd you play? What difficulty did you play?
okay, so we started off at easy, and then I was like, I kind of fluctuated to medium and then hard, back and forth, and then I was like, I prefer to play games on hard, but you know, that's just like I'm just a masochist and I like to make it as hard as possible. But it was like it was a time crunch thing, so we went back to easy. So shamelessly, we played it on easy mode. We suck, but you know,
Easy mode's still hard though.
it's true. It gets pretty gnarly, you know, as you get midway through the game. It was what was it? The hell. What was the title of the mission? It's like hell, and I don't know. I can't remember the name of it.
Something hell related.
Okay, so just to push forward,
Hell.
hell, a lot of hell. There's something related to
Hell,
hell. I'm pretty
space,
sure.
Mars.
Like that's any news to anybody, but. And then on my left, we have Kyle Johnstone, who's going to be moderating the Twitch feed. So all of you guys that have questions, he's going to be checking that. If you guys have questions, make sure you throw them in there. If you want to ask these guys, I'll make sure to relay it, or Kyle will. Because we want to make this open and allow you guys to get to know these guys more. So without further ado, Mike's already playing the game. Which
Where is the chainsaw?
Chainsaw is the X button. Yeah, it's
Whoa,
mapped to
don't
X.
want that.
Luckily, we got the BFG last night, which is great. So I want to get to know you guys more. So what primarily, we'll go down the list, maybe starting with you, Brian, all the way around the table. What are your primary roles at id Software, and what were your primary roles in developing this game?
I'm actually going to totally knock this to Jason, as Jason's the lead and has definitely been here the longest out of all the character guys. So
Yeah,
your responsibilities are way more important than myself.
I wouldn't really go that far. I mean, we have a relatively small team. I'm the lead. I mean, this is it. This is the character team all around. So, and we got 2 senior guys, and we have Emmanuel, who's our newest member, came in about roughly a year ago, right?
April last
April.
year.
So, so this is it, you know. So we got like really tight knit. I may be the lead, but you know, like we all share responsibilities and stuff and whatnot. But yeah, our you know, we've been making characters for Doom, and you know, Brian's senior, Ben's a senior, and like, so that's my duties really. I'm passing you guys along.
So Jason, you're lead, and then
Yeah.
Brian, how about you?
I'm a senior, and I've been here. Emmanuel and I started like a week apart. That was like almost like a year and a half ago. Yeah. Emmanuel's story is like way cooler. But yeah, like
Emmanuel's actually got a good story.
yeah, his story is actually really cool, and I think it'll be honestly the most intriguing for, you know, if there's a lot of students in the audience and wanting to get into games and stuff like that. Hopefully I'm not an old jaded man yet.
No, man, you still got your youth.
But yeah, I actually, you know, I was in LA for a while, and then I moved back to Atlanta after having a kid, and like, I like thought I had a dream from, like I woke up and I look at my phone and there was an email from the art director, Hugo Martin, and it was like, hey, would you want to come work on Doom?
Oh my gosh.
Just like,
Yes.
back asleep, and I woke up and I was like, man, that's like a crazy dream. That'd be pretty awesome.
Worst dream ever. If it was a dream, that'd be
Yeah.
awful.
But I checked my phone again, and I was like, oh no, because like I just moved to Atlanta, and I was just like if this was like 2 weeks earlier, this would have like changed everything.
Wow. I would
But in
imagine
the
that was a tough thing for you to process at that
It was a
time.
little bit. It was a little bit
It was a
tough.
tease.
It was definitely
Yeah.
a tease. It was like probably a year and a half after that. They were still looking for someone, and I had a friend, Colin Geller, who's one of our concept artists, contact me and was like, hey man, we're still looking. And at that point I was just like, I think this is kind of happening for a reason, so like let's try this out. And I have an incredibly supportive family, and they were cool with it. And so yeah, I came in pretty late into the project. There wasn't a ton left character stuff to do, so like Jason and Dens have, but it was nice. I was able to hit the ground running. First task, Jason was awesome and saved me like the lost soul, which is pretty straightforward. I mean, it's just like literally flying, flaming skull with horns on it. So
Oh, those things drive me nuts, by the way. But
yeah,
those are great.
Things of nightmare.
Brian's underselling a little bit. He came in late to the project, but I mean, he still had plenty to add. It was definitely awesome. It was like, you know, your pinch hitter. It was perfect timing, really. And what happened for our next project is going to be obviously badass. So.
Yeah, it seems like that's a good time to come in because you guys are, there's been
Much
quite a
love.
bit of time, between the last Doom and this one, and it seems like you guys really have honed in. You guys are this. I want to talk about too the engine. This is running on idTech 6, correct? This version of Doom,
Yes.
and Rage was running on idTech 5, and it just seems like it's a beautiful game. It's amazing, and I feel like the advancements that you'll have in future games, it's probably a good time to be there. I would guess.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
No, it's really, really cool. Absolutely.
Well, Emmanuel, how about you?
I started off while I was in school, I was emailing one of the guys who worked here, a level designer, Jason O'Connell, and just kind of getting critiques on this group project that I had with a buddy of mine, Lewis, which also works here. And through that, I guess O'Connell, referred me over to Jason.
Yeah, I got
emails. So.
I got an email from a designer, and he's like, "Man, this kid from Full Sail keeps emailing me about all this stuff." And he's like, "I don't know if he's got our names confused, because we're both named Jason, and they dick up our emails every once in a while." So he sends me this kid, Emmanuel's stuff, and I'm like, "It's pretty decent." We've never really done interns since I've been here. So me and Hugo, he's like, "Dude, why don't we get an intern in here?" And I'm like, why not? So Emmanuel went from us not even considering it, just randomly taking a chance, emailed a designer and then passed it to me. And the next thing you know, he's coming out to intern for us. And we loved him. It worked out great. And now he's here.
Wow,
So-
that's amazing. All you students out there listening, take note.
He's been saying to everyone.
Emmanuel rocks. I love that guy.
And so I got a question too
Working
about
with
the
Emmanuel's
company.
amazing too, because
Guys, we have a quick question for you. Throw it out there, Kyle.
Epic Beardman 3D says how many devs are at it?
How many
guys
devs
want
are
to
at
say
id?
that?
Is
Are
that
we
is
looking
that
at game dev, I mean, we're roughly about 100 developers.
100 developers?
Now, I mean, it kind of that's in-house. I mean, it fluctuates a little bit. We did do some MP stuff outside of the building, but right now, it's about 100.
Okay.
Roughly.
Wow.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, Emmanuel, that's an amazing story for the students and people that are learning 3D now. Persistence is a valuable asset, and if you pursue those things, obviously that's a testament to those things.
he's also
I think
really
I'm
good.
dying.
Well, and yeah, I would imagine that plays a part into it as well. Denzel, do you go by Denz?
That's cool, man. Here's a good Easter egg.
Yeah.
Is that the Terminator Easter egg?
What? Wait, what just happened? I
Dude,
missed it. I couldn't see
let
it.
me lay the scene for you. I fell into the molten lava steel stuff, and at the end of T2, you did this on the way down. I think this is
Nice.
the second Terminator reference we've had in our twitching.
Mike is notorious for having just the most amazing Terminator 2 references. In all of the last stream, I think there was
We played
5
Fallout
references.
last time, yeah. Basically, everything's a Terminator.
It all goes back to Terminator. That's basically what this all is.
True.
All of us CG artists were just so inspired by it.
And I was just informed yesterday that they're re-releasing T2 in 3D.
Oh my goodness, how's that?
Just
gonna look?
saying.
Well, that sounds good. Denzel, you go by Denz? Is that what I hear?
Yeah, yep.
So what's your story? What is your position there in id? What do you do?
I'm senior character artist. I've been here for 2.5 years, I think now. I originally come from Australia, if you couldn't tell.
Nice.
Uh,
No, I
outta
couldn't. I
here.
had no idea.
Puts it on.
yeah. I just love the accent.
Yeah, he was like, I bet I could do an Australian accent my entire life.
Yeah, in Australia, I just left. There was a studio closure, and I was doing freelance for about 6 months. During that time, I was just looking for work basically. And one day, I think Jason, you or Cliff hit me up on LinkedIn, and yeah, it just went from there. I got an art test and trying to just put it all into that because getting a reply from id Software was just awesome. So
That's amazing. Well, I know you have a ZBrush Central thread for people that don't know what that is. ZBrushCentral.com is our site where people like these guys, pros and hobbyists alike, will post their work and share. It's just an entire community of people sharing their work, getting help, tips, critiques, and we also have a top row where we as a company go through and post some of the stuff that we feel is the best work. It is sort of a committee, so there there is a thought process that goes behind it. But Denzel, you have a really amazing thread there as well. That I believe I was just looking at it today. Did I see a Jabba the Hutt sculpt on there?
Oh yeah. I was
That was one of the more recent ones that I saw, but it was an amazing piece. I loved it.
Yeah, I did that at the start of the year, just because there was a competition that came up on so CG Plus.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
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 And yeah, that was about a month's worth of work, just after work. Yeah, I was just inspired at the time.
That's amazing. Yeah, it was a super cool piece, man. I loved it.
Nice.
Did that armor in ZBrush.
Hey, that's what we like to hear. Those are the
Nice,
things I
nice.
want to get to. All right, so let's.
The whole model was ZBrush from start to finish. I didn't leave the package until rendering, which was in Marmoset.
Marmoset. Okay, that's that was gonna be my
Was
guess.
this the sculpt with the mechanical leg in the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I saw that too.
So those are things I want to get to as far as this game is concerned. And there's one question I want to ask you before we move on. I mean, you guys have images that you're going to share, which are your sculpts done in ZBrush, renders that we'll be able to share. So we want to try and find these things in the game as much as possible to kind of show the correlation between, the concept sculpt and the finished piece to final asset in the game. And there was one question I do want to ask you guys too so you guys as a team, you guys are a part of Doom is such an epic franchise and it's such an important one. And there's no secret that it's been a long time since the last Doom. So did you guys was there an amount of pressure that you had on yourselves as designers to deliver something that was fresh and new but still connected to the original Doom feel and those characters?
I mean, it's huge. It's a little bit humbling, to be honest. I mean, first off, when it comes to design, this comes from the concept team all the way down. I mean, it starts a concept and kicked to us, and then we build and then back and forth and whatnot. So concept deserves a lot of respect. But even coming from a concept to us, the pressure to bring these characters to life, to do these iconic characters justice, is definitely challenging. We went through a lot of iteration to do it justice, and hopefully we did just that. I think we all, felt really good about it and spent the time and energy to make sure we did it right, and we're pretty happy with the results. But yeah, it was incredibly challenging, especially with a game that we all grew up with. Well, almost all of us. I mean,
That was my next question. Was how much? Be honest. Who played Doom? How much of an impact did Doom have on you as gamers?
Oh, me.
Plenty.
Yeah, me. I mean, massive. I can tell my story with it. I remember in '94, my friend's dad got a brand new Gateway Pentium. High power
486.
back in '95. And he's like, "Yeah, you got to come over here and check out this game." And he's like, "You're not going to believe it." And we go over there, and his parents were like a little bit religious, so we're like ducked out in the office playing Doom and there's pentagrams and hell stuff. And I remember my jaw just hitting the floor, like being blown away, really.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of crazy sometimes if I could go back in time and touch myself on the shoulder and be like, you'll be able to touch this game in 20 years from now, helping redesign these exact same characters. It's an awesome,
It was like
how lucky and blessed am I to be able to have that opportunity. So it's been really cool.
I think there was mornings I would wake up and you'd be really excited, and you're you'd either I would listen to the soundtrack coming to work. I have a little bit of a commute, so I would listen to the old soundtrack. I just like old game music in general. And then it'd be
I follow you on Spotify. I
terrifying. Oh God, I really got to hit this. Not only hitting the execution level that the awesome art that the concept team had given you, but then just the lore that is Doom. Because it was a similar story for me. I was always a console kid, so beside the Oregon Trail, which everyone played in elementary school.
Oh, for sure, third grade.
Yeah, I remember it was the first true PC game where I went to this girl in our neighborhood. Her older brother would play PC games, and he was like, "Hey, you like monsters, kid? You want to check this out?"
Sounds like a kidnapping proposition.
What is this?
Yeah, what was he about to show
and he was like, "Check this out." And he showed me he's like, "This is Doom," and then he showed me God mode, cheats. Because he's like, "You can't do that on console, can you, kid?" And I was just like,
Little did he know.
Check your glasses.
"What you want to do into the game?" And so I just remember that kind of changing it for me. And then it had this feeling at that age of like very heavy metal, obviously. Like, man,
Definitely.
I'm really not supposed to be seeing this, but I really like this. Like,
It's like
this is awesome.
It was like your NC-17. Like,
Yeah.
You know, it was like next level R-rated.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
if you saw that Evil Dead 2 on the same weekend, like you became a teenager.
You would just implode.
I really question if we'll ever arrive at a game that had that much impact on parents and stuff like that. I mean, because that was like the game where you were afraid to let your parents see it. You didn't know how
Yeah,
they
sure.
handled it.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't just violence; it was like Satan and everything
Yeah,
else.
it's hell.
All of it combined,
in a
plus
time-
heavy metal.
In a time in this country where things weren't. I mean, we've gone through so many changes. Like, look at the stuff that you see on TV now. Like the ratings as far as what's acceptable to watch that was just. I mean, to me as a kid, I was terrified because I was playing Oregon Trail and Super Mario and then you play that game and you're in the music plays such a big part in Doom as far as you guys. It's really amped up in this latest version of Doom, by the way, which is so epic. But yeah, that adds to that level of
No shout out to that.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like I didn't know it feel cheesy at first, but like all of us were like trying to get audio clips to play.
Got one planned now.
There we go. Yeah, sorry, it just froze for a second.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember like, is it cheesy? I want to listen to the soundtrack of the game I'm working on. Is that like wearing like the band shirt, going to the band or whatever? But then like it got to the point where I was like, I don't care. Like it amped you up while working.
Right.
And that was the thing for me is like sometimes I'd want to listen to something a little more relaxing or chill while I'm working. But with the types of things you're working on, like I'm a big believer of what you're listening to can greatly affect what you're making. So like if you're doing like a retopo or UVs or something, maybe it could be something more chilled out. But
because that's sort of a
couldn't
mind
listen
numbing.
to Enya
Yeah,
while like sculpting a demon.
absolutely.
But you listen to Enya quite a bit.
I do. Daddy taught me well.
So let's talk about that. The inspiration factor. As far as when you guys were, when you were tasked to, even if you came onto the project later, when you were tasked with just populating this world, building the character assets, even some of the environments or influencing those things, where did you start? Was the story primarily outlined for you, or are you just given, as far as the conceptual design, where do you start at that point?
Well, I mean, as far as the story of the character or the story of the game, kind of laid out.
Well, like the story of the game. So, I would imagine that maybe you're given some sort of an outline of what the game is, the game is going to be, and then maybe do you guys have 2D concept artists? Do you concept in 3D?
Yes, yeah. Like that, it'll initially be kicked over to 2D guys. They'll, crank some stuff out. We get concepts, anywhere from really loose to sometimes really fleshed out. Sometimes we fill in the gaps. Sometimes it's back and forth. Sometimes we build on it. We like to use the word plus it. Like, we always try to push the design and make it better and better and better. I think for a pipeline purpose, it's really important that you maintain, figure a lot of stuff up front in concept, and you follow it down the line. And you plus it where you can and do some, we get plenty of opportunities to create on top of it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we get sort of fleshed out what the character is, what it needs to be, what his strengths, and also what's important with games is you have the design element. You got to build these characters for what they're going to do in the game and how they're going to perform and behave. So that's that they came in a lot back and forth, and we would alter it, and then sometimes the design, like how the character's going to be, would be changed slightly, and then we'd have to go back to the character concept and change some things, stuff like that. So there is a good bit of creativity on our side too in the design process.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Sorry, I lost you there for a second. I heard the last part.
I got to.
I basically want to give a shout out to David_Ams because he basically asked that same question. He was asking how much do you implement ZBrush into the visual development / concept design stage? But you guys basically
Yeah,
kinda answered that.
and I think that there's there's sort of a transition. Traditionally, concept design was sort of a painting 2D aspect, and there's a lot that can be done as far as speed is concerned with, say, starting a sculpt in ZBrush and doing a concept piece in ZBrush and then painting over, so 3D to 2D. Did you guys find yourself doing that at all, or are you doing sort of the traditional 2D to 3D?
It's more traditional 2D to 3D, but there's been plenty of stuff where we get into development situation where 2D's fast, rapid, and you can develop without any restrictions. No program to get in your way. It's just pure artist freedom. But sometimes, obviously, when that gets to we actually start creating the characters, that's when you run into problems. That's where we get to put our own spin on things and develop them along the way. And a lot of times when you get in that phase, there's a lot of back and forth between concept and whatnot.
Yeah.
But we have a really awesome. It's not like concept is like, here, we're going to throw this drawing over the fence and you guys make it, and it goes down like compartment to compartment to compartment. Concepts, like, we sit right across the way from each other, kind of, and so they're always in
that's
our
good.
pit, and we're always working back and forth together. We have a really good relationship with all those guys. They're very talented and they're badass.
So you guys sort of get to work together, and you kind of get to both influence the designs as a whole, and sort of have creative freedom, I guess, in that sense.
Sure.
A lot of the back and forth happens at the block out stage. I feel like so when you go from the concept to Zbrush, you can quickly lay out all the things that you see in the concept, and then some things will work really successfully, and some other things not so much. And that's where we'll try and kick it back and try and fix those problems.
Right. It's interesting to hear different. Everybody kind of has their own sort of workflow, and each studio is different. So I'm always curious, as far as the ZBrush is concerned. What would you guys say did ZBrush play a primary part into developing the art for this game? Where did you guys find use for it most?
I mean, it's obviously to the character team. It's pretty much our main bread and butter. From we obviously have a lot of organic elements, not only in our characters, but and when you get into some of the later hell levels with like massive skulls and props and stuff like that. We're doing hard surface. Dems is really, really good at doing hard surface in ZBrush. And then kind of like with some of the concept stuff, the very first task I had here with like making the Lost Soul, Hugo Martin, he had a series of sketches that were all really loose and was basically just kind of like, oh, that's the one I want. And I started making it, and he was like, oh, you did that pretty fast. Can you do that sketch as well? So I think he had like 5 or 6 sketches on this one sheet. And every day for that first week I was here, I just built a different sketch.
Wow.
So he was able to just kind of be like, parts of that are working, parts of this aren't working. And so it's not like, I just want to make that clear to like a lot of people that are getting in the industry. It's not like you're giving a drawing and then you're essentially this like CAD machine that just builds it. Because we were talking about this the other day, like the way you interpret a line that someone draws, whether it's a shape, like we were talking about hard surface elements, and it might be this kind of sketch of like what a bolt or like a secondary form or shape might be. And the way each of us interprets it is totally different in one sense. Yeah, so there's this level where you're kind of, when you're building it in 3D, is like what works best for that character at that point and that part right there. And we do a lot of like Den was saying, we'll block stuff out, and we'll do a block out, and we have a process of getting that block out approved. And part of that process also includes kicking it back to concept to where they could do like a third read pass or a sketch on top of it, where it's like, hey, in your drawing you had this, but when we get in 3D, that really doesn't work for whatever technical limitation, or just kind of doesn't read well. Do you want to take another pass at that? So there's back and forth in a good way. Like it's only improving the character and the asset more.
Right.
We also use ZBrush very differently on a lot of characters in this. It was kind of like a growing thing. Like some characters we use ZBrush for hard surface, some characters we traditional poly modeled, but it was kind of like what worked best for that character, I was mentioned earlier. But another cool thing is, since we're small and really organic, is I always like kind of like there's 2 things I like to use: plus it and best idea wins. So we constantly, as we're using ZBrush and doing stuff, and we figure new ways out. It doesn't matter who, just I may be the lead, but I don't care. Emmanuel can do something badass, and if it works, we're like, that's the bar. And so we're constantly, doesn't matter where the bar gets pushed using software or whatnot. It's that's where we go. It doesn't matter where it comes from. That's just the new bar.
Right.
And the same way with ZBrush processes, whoever we find with something, not that we all have to do the exact same way, but we're very open-minded to like, hey, try out this, panel loop technique, or hey, that really looks, dude, show me how you add that to my model, or back and forth, and those sharing those elements was huge.
Right, and you guys are basically setting that bar as the design element, and whatever method between your team, whatever method you can go about doing that, you sort of allow that to happen sort of organically.
Yeah, and we really did use a lot of methods. I'm sure, like as we go talk about the characters, we can talk about as we go, but we definitely there's no like pipeline way of like we're using ZBrush this way. It was very organic and just kind of flowed to like.
Yeah,
down
some characters
line.
had alphas on. Like that was one thing where you would see like the characters kind of all need to look like they come from the same world, and I would sculpt on something and it would get approved and look all right, and then you would kind of be like, oh, hey, can I see that image? And then you'd see that up on everyone around you image, and then like Dems would take that technique and then plus that more, and then when he'd be done, you're like, hey, can I get a render of what you just did?
Yeah,
So, so like
leapfrogging.
yeah,
Yeah,
and you could just essentially
definitely.
you're essentially pushing each other. It's competitive in the sense that like of course you never want to be like the weakest link, but the cool thing about our team is everyone is pushing each other because
Like help each other out.
Yeah.
To get that.
yeah, one of the things I remember learning very on in the industry is like the characters in a game, like right now you see all these these zombies running around. It doesn't have our signature next to them, so it doesn't really benefit us to keep information to ourselves because all the characters on the screen represent all of us and any other character that worked on it before we got here.
Right.
So sharing that image, so Den sharing a technique with me is only helping him, and then the same with if I share something with Manual or vice versa, whatever the situation is.
It seems like it's very refreshing to hear that, and I think it kind of inhibits the most possible creativity as a team and not individuals. And you guys are sort of just working together to extend what was Doom to these characters now, which are obviously the quality and resolution goes up immensely now with these next gen systems and a better platform. So you guys can really start to push those details, and all these characters are. Obviously, I think, I don't know what you guys think, but as far as what you can do in ZBrush, sculpting detail-wise, I think there's so much more room for improvement. But these characters, they really, the quality and the sculptural love that you guys put into this stuff is so apparent in all of these creatures. And there's so many different variations too, which is amazing. And I always wonder, as far as, because this game is driven by a lot of organic shapes, you have a lot of sculpting, but there's also a ton of hard surface elements, obviously the weapons. So do you guys use ZBrush at all? Do you use any hard surface? Perfect. Well, we are officially live. I'd like to thank the people that are tuning in right now. Looks like we have about 60
Mike.
viewers right now. We want to thank you guys. And if you're new to this thing or you just kind of stumbled upon it, this Let's Play is something that us Pixelogic, the makers of ZBrush, are trying to put on because we're trying to sort of bridge the gap between gamers and game artists and teams of artists that make the amazing games that we play. Today, we're sitting with the character artists from id Software, the makers of Doom, which is an amazing game